What's going on? Welcome to the video. Colossus Fitness here. We're going to show you how to do an overhead standing dumbbell tricep extension. Now you can also do this seated, as you can see on the screen there. If you have access to one of these benches, they are fantastic. But for the purpose of this video, we don't have access to one of those, so we're just going to show you it standing. So when actually performing this exercise, you're going to want to figure out how to hold it first. The best way to do it is imagine that you're kind of cupping a football. So grabbing onto the dumbbell, just like this. You're going to want to bring it overhead like this so you don't hit your face, especially if it's a heavier weight. Keep the elbows nice and tight. Core nice and tight as well, and also squeeze the glutes to ensure that you're keeping proper form and tightness throughout the exercise. Extend your arms all the way up with a little bit of a tilt forwards. Now this is gonna vary. You're gonna wanna find what works best for you. I've got a little bit of shoulder pain, so I just extend all the way up. Some people like tilting forwards like that, okay? It's all a matter of what you feel safe with, because overhead movements, especially of shoulder pain, could be pretty tough, but it's a fantastic exercise for growing the long head of your triceps.
All right, so now we're gonna go over 3 common mistakes to help you better understand this exercise. So with Kyle, I'm sure someone's gonna comment it when he put it up. You'll see he was like this, right, initially, and then he said elbows in. Now here's the thing, do my elbows look that in? Not so much, but naturally I'm kind of restricted by my lats here. So you can really only do what you can, and I don't want people squeezing, doing something that really isn't optimal. That's gonna just end up hurting you more just for principle of the movement. Saying so, we can't let those elbows be sloppy and be out. So there's a fine line between the two. So I don't want anything like this, where I'm just kind of working out those elbows. Instead, I want to do the best I can, keeping it as tight as possible, coming up, getting that squeeze.
Get it, brother.
Yep.
Let's go, give me
Yep.
another inch.
Yep. And common mistake number 2, as you can see here, is just improper range of motion. Now this is a tougher exercise, especially if you're just getting into it. So pick a weight you can comfortably handle. I think a lot of times people will just grab the 90s or 100s and just rep it out with very poor range of motion, which isn't gonna do as much for your triceps.
So number 3 common mistake is also lack of torso control. Yes, I am standing. And when you're sitting, it's a little bit easier, but I find too many people try and crutch into their spine when doing this movement, especially with any overhead movement, even if you're overhead pressing. A lot of people wanna rest on that spine. Now what you wanna know is the spine's not a muscle. You don't wanna put a lot of stress and weight on the spine. Instead, you really wanna focus on your stability muscles. Those are your glutes and your abs. So while I'm performing this movement, what I don't wanna do is be going back. Anything awkward like that. I wanna squeeze into my abs, squeeze my butt, keep it tight torso, power it up, boom. See how easy that is? Cake. So that's what's gonna keep you stable, whether you're seated or standing. Maintain that tight core and squeeze that tricep all the way through. Here are 3 variations you gotta try out. So next up is a single arm component. So if you have uneven arms, I definitely recommend this to build symmetry. Unilateral work is super important, and you can use a really light weight, just focus on big squeezes, and it can get pretty nasty. So same principles apply, elbows are tight, squeezing the core, powering it up, bring it to the middle of that head, boom. Squeezing the tricep all the way through.
You can see the tricep working.
Switch it up.
And next up, variation number 2 is actually seated, and the benefit of this is you're gonna be able to lift a lot more weight because you're not gonna be focusing on too much of your core and your glutes to stabilize you. You're gonna be in a seated position. Obviously you would use a bench that goes up to about here, but we only got a chair, and then the exact same principles apply as the regular one, leaning back. Also, you will be keeping the core tight, elbows tight, and then just extend all the way up, okay? Give it a try. And last but not least, cable overhead tricep extension. So for the sake of this video, we'll keep it from the lower position. Now the hardest part, I find a lot of people struggle because they just jerk it up and they just start throwing it around, and over time you could throw out your shoulder if you don't do it properly. So keep your chest up, core tight, swing it around like you're kind of swinging a baseball bat, and then right into the overhead position. I find personally I like to lean forward slightly to stabilize my weight. You can do it like this, but the same principle applies for the regular tricep extension. Elbows tight, extend all the way up, and then down, okay? The good thing about this is there's constant tension for this exercise, so give it a try. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button.